Welcome to the channel Hidden Coin Value. Have you ever checked your coins carefully? One of them could be hiding a fortune in plain sight, sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or even your car's cup holder right now. Today we are talking about a coin so common, so overlooked, that millions of people have held it in their hands without ever knowing what it truly was. We are talking about the 1994 P Washington quarter. Yes, a quarter. The same coin you use for laundry, for vending machines, for parking meters, and yet, one specific version of this coin has sold for a jaw-dropping $19,000. Let that sink in for a moment. $19,000 for a coin worth 25 cents on its face. But that is not even the best part of today's video. Because after we uncover the secret behind this 1994 P quarter, I am going to tell you about two more coins that are even harder to find, even more shocking in their story, and even more valuable than the one we are about to reveal. I won't tell you their values yet. You are going to have to stick around for that. But trust me, by the end of this video, you might be running to check every coin jar in your house. So let's get into it. The year is 1994. The Philadelphia Mint, the oldest and one of the busiest mints in the entire United States, is cranking out Washington quarters by the millions, day after day, hour after hour. Think about that scale for a moment. Machines running non-stop, dies stamping out coin after coin at blistering speed, workers monitoring presses that never seem to sleep. And when you have that kind of volume, that kind of relentless production, mistakes happen. Not often. Not usually. But when they do, collectors go absolutely wild. Now, the standard 1994 P quarter is nothing special. Millions of them exist, and most are worth exactly 25 cents, maybe $1 or $2 if it's in pristine condition. But somewhere in that massive production run, something went wrong at the Philadelphia Mint. A die, the heavy steel tool that stamps the design onto a blank coin, was damaged, doubled, or misaligned. And instead of catching it immediately, the flawed die kept stamping coin after coin before anyone noticed. This is where the magic happens for collectors. Because when a mint error slips through quality control and makes it into circulation, it becomes one of the rarest, most sought-after prizes in all of numismatics. For the 1994 P quarter, collectors believe the anomaly involves a doubled die obverse, commonly called a DDO. This happens when the die used to stamp the front of the coin is created with a slight shift during the hubbing process, causing certain design elements like the lettering in Liberty, the date, or In God We Trust to appear doubled, tripled, or ghosted when you look closely. Now here's the thing. Most people would look at a coin like this, see a slightly blurry date, and think, it must be worn down, and toss it right back into circulation. That mistake, right there, is how fortunes slip through people's fingers every single day. Because a true DDO on a 1994 P quarter, especially one that survived decades of handling without major wear, is now considered one of the most exciting sleeper finds in modern quarter collecting. But the doubling isn't the only anomaly collectors are hunting for on this date. Some 1994 P quarters have also surfaced with what's called a repunched mint mark, or RPM, although since this coin comes from Philadelphia and typically has no mint mark, specialists instead focus on a rarer possibility, an off-center strike, where the coin blank shifted slightly during the stamping process, leaving part of the design missing or shifted dramatically to one side. Imagine holding a quarter where George Washington's profile isn't perfectly centered, where there's a sliver of blank, unstruck metal along one edge. That is not a damaged coin. That is a mint error. And mint errors, my friends, are pure gold to collectors. Now let's talk about how something like this actually gets discovered, because the story is almost always more dramatic than you'd expect. Picture this. A retired mail carrier, let's call him Frank, spent 30 years sorting envelopes and packages, and after retirement, he took up a quiet little hobby, coin roll hunting. Every week, he'd walk into his local bank, request a few rolls of quarters, and sit at his kitchen table sorting through them one by one with a cup of coffee and a magnifying glass. Most weeks? Nothing. Just ordinary quarters, a few worn bicentennial coins, maybe a silver one from the 60s if he got lucky. But one Tuesday afternoon, Frank pulled a quarter from the roll that looked off. The lettering on the obverse seemed thick, almost like it had a shadow behind it. His first thought was that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He set it aside, kept sorting, and later that night, pulled out his loupe, a small magnifying tool collectors use to examine coins up close, and looked again. There it was. Clear as day. Doubling on the lettering. A shadow-like ghost image running through Liberty and the date, 1994. Frank's hands were shaking. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he photographed the coin from every angle and posted it in a numismatic forum, asking for opinions. Within hours, replies started pouring in. That's a legit DDO. Send this to PCGS immediately. Do not clean this coin. This could be worth thousands. Frank sent the coin off for professional grading, and weeks later, the verdict came back, a genuine 1994 P double die obverse quarter, graded MS65, meaning mint state 65, a beautiful, well-preserved example with sharp, eye-catching detail and minimal imperfections. That coin eventually sold at auction for close to $19,000. A retired mail carrier's 25-cent coin roll hunting hobby turned into a life-changing payday, all because he took 30 extra seconds to look closer instead of tossing that quarter back into the bank bag. This, right here, is why coin collecting has exploded in popularity. It's not about being wealthy or having connections. It's about paying attention. Now, let's talk about why collectors chase coins like this so aggressively, because understanding the psychology behind it makes the whole picture click into place. Modern coins from the 1990s especially, are often overlooked by casual collectors. People assume that because a coin is recent, it can't be valuable. They save their attention for old Morgan dollars, ancient Roman coins, or gold pieces from the 1800s. But that assumption is exactly what makes coins like the 1994 P double die quarter so valuable. Because collectors ignored this date for years, very few people set them aside in high-grade condition. Most 1994 quarters were spent, used, jingled around in pockets, and eventually melted down or lost to circulation wear. So when a true error coin from this date surfaces in excellent condition, the population of surviving examples is shockingly small. And in the world of numismatics, rarity plus condition equals value. Let's talk grading for a moment, because this is where things get really interesting. Coins like this 1994 P quarter are typically sent to one of two major third-party grading services, PCGS, which stands for the Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. These organizations are the gold standard in coin authentication and grading. When a coin arrives at PCGS or NGC, expert graders examine it under magnification, checking for authenticity, strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and any signs of damage or cleaning. They then assign it a numerical grade on what's called the Sheldon scale, ranging from 1, a coin that's barely identifiable, all the way up to 70, an absolutely flawless specimen. For modern coins like this quarter, grades in the range of MS60 to MS70 represent mint state, meaning the coin was never circulated and shows no wear from handling. The higher the number, the closer to perfect the coin is. A coin graded MS65 or higher, especially with a legitimate double die error, is considered exceptional. And once graded, the coin is sealed inside a tamper-proof holder, often called a slab, with the grade permanently displayed. This is called being PCGS certified or NGC certified, and it dramatically increases buyer confidence and therefore value. Serious collectors also track something called population reports, published by both PCGS and NGC. These reports show exactly how many examples of a specific coin, at a specific grade, have ever been certified. For the 1994 P double die quarter, population numbers at MS65 and above are shockingly LOW. We're talking about a handful of coins, sometimes fewer than a dozen, confirmed at the highest grades across both grading services combined. When a coin holds the title of top pop, meaning it's tied for the highest certified grade in existence, that coin becomes the crown jewel for registry set collectors, hobbyists who compete to build the finest possible collection of a specific coin series, tracked publicly through PCGS set registry and NGC registry programs. These collectors don't just want a nice coin. They want the best coin. And they will pay extraordinary premiums to claim the top spot on the leaderboard. Some of these registry competitors also chase something called a CAC sticker, a green or gold sticker issued by the Certified Acceptance Corporation, signifying that a coin isn't just accurately graded, but is a particularly strong, plus quality example for its assigned grade. A CAC sticker on a coin like this double die quarter can push the value even higher, because it signals to buyers that this isn't just a good MS65, it's a coin that could arguably grade higher. Now let's talk auction history, because the numbers here tell an incredible story. Error coins from the 1990s were largely ignored for years, selling quietly in small transactions between collectors who understood their significance. But as social media and coin roll hunting content exploded in popularity over the last several years, awareness of these modern rarities skyrocketed. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions began seeing increased bidding wars over coins that, just a decade earlier, might have sold for a few $100s. Suddenly, well-documented, high-grade examples of the 1994 P double die quarter were pulling in bids reaching into the five-figure range, with the most exceptional specimen, the one we discussed earlier, realizing a final sale price near $19,000. Think about the math here for a second. That's a return of over 76,000% on a 25-cent coin. There is no stock, no investment, no lottery ticket that offers odds like that. And here's the truly wild part: experts believe there could still be more of these double die quarters sitting out there, undiscovered, mixed in with ordinary change in coin jars, bankrolls, vending machine reserves, and old piggy banks across the country. So what should you be looking for if you want to try your luck? First, grab any 1994 quarters you can find, check your change, ask family members, or better yet, head to your bank and request a few rolls of quarters to search through. It costs you nothing but a little time. Second, get yourself a simple magnifying loupe. You can find an affordable one online for just a few dollars. Examine the date, the lettering around Liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." Look for any doubling, a shadow-like duplication of the letters or numbers, almost like you're seeing double. Third, check the edges of the coin. Is the strike perfectly centered? Or does it look like part of the design is shifted, cut off, or missing entirely? That could indicate an off-center strike error, another highly valuable anomaly. Fourth, and this is critical, do not clean the coin. I cannot stress this enough. Cleaning a coin, even gently, can strip away its original surface and destroy its value. Collectors want coins in their original, natural state. A cleaned coin, even a rare error, can lose the majority of its worth instantly. If you think you found something promising, the next step is getting it authenticated. Reach out to a local coin dealer, join online numismatic communities, or submit your coin directly to PCGS or NGC for professional grading. Yes, there's a submission fee, but if your coin turns out to be the real deal, that fee is nothing compared to the potential payoff. Now, I want you to imagine something for a second. Somewhere out there, right now, there is a bank vault, or a change jar, or a forgotten drawer, holding a 1994 quarter just like the one we talked about today. Its owner has no idea what they're holding. They see 25 cents. They don't see $19,000 staring back at them. That could be you. That could be a coin sitting in your car right now, or in a jar on your kitchen counter that you haven't touched in years. This is exactly why we make these videos. Because knowledge is the difference between spending a fortune and finding one. And speaking of fortunes, remember those two other coins I mentioned at the beginning of this video? The next one on our list is a Washington quarter that experts consider even more elusive than the coin we just covered. Fewer confirmed examples. An error story that sounds almost too strange to be true. And a value that, when I reveal it, might make you gasp. But that's not even the biggest surprise waiting for you today. Because the final coin in this series, the one we're saving for last, is considered by many collectors to be one of the most jaw-dropping quarter discoveries of the last 50 years. A coin so rare, so unexpected, that when its true value came out, even seasoned auction house experts were stunned into silence. I'm not going to tell you the numbers yet. You're going to have to stay with me for that. But I promise you this, if you thought a 25-cent coin selling for $19,000 was unbelievable, what's coming next is going to blow your mind even further. So don't go anywhere. Get comfortable, maybe grab that spare change jar sitting in the corner of your room, because after this next reveal, you are going to want to start checking every quarter you own. Next, the 1982 D quarter dollar. This ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret. And today, we are diving deep into one of the most surprising Washington quarter discoveries to come out of the Denver Mint in the entire 1980s. Because this coin, a coin that looks, at first glance, completely unremarkable, has sold for an incredible $22,000. $22,000. For a coin that most people would spend without a second thought at a gas station or a coffee shop. And remember what I told you, this is not even the biggest reveal of the day. There is still one more coin coming after this one, and trust me, it is going to leave you speechless. But we are not there yet. Let's focus on the treasure hiding in plain sight right now. Let's rewind to 1982. This was a turbulent year for American coinage. The United States Mint was dealing with rising metal costs, shifting production schedules, and a noticeable decline in the overall quality control across several denominations. In fact, numismatic historians often refer to 1982 and 1983 as the dark years of quarter production, a period where poor strike quality and inconsistent minting became more common than in almost any other era of modern coinage. Why does that matter to you? Because when quality control slips, errors multiply. And errors, as we've already established, are exactly what collectors are hunting for. The Denver Mint, marked with the D Mint mark, was pumping out Washington quarters at a furious pace that year. And somewhere in that chaotic production environment, a batch of coins emerged with a flaw that would go largely unnoticed for decades. Collectors believe the 1982 D anomaly centers around a combination of two rare minting mistakes, a repunched mint mark, known as an RPM, and in some documented examples, a subtle double die reverse, or DDR. Let's break down what these actually mean, because understanding the mechanics makes the discovery even more thrilling. Back in 1982, mint marks were not part of the master die. Instead, individual mint mark punches were hand-applied to each working die by mint employees, a manual process that, frankly, invited human error. If a worker's hand shifted even slightly while punching the D into the die, it would create a doubled, shifted, or repunched mint mark that would then be stamped onto every coin produced from that particular die. Imagine that. A tiny slip of a mint worker's hand in Denver, back in 1982, creating a permanent flaw that would turn an ordinary quarter into a five-figure treasure decades later. On the 1982 D RPM quarter, if you look closely at the mint mark under magnification, you'll notice something strange, a faint secondary D peeking out from behind the primary one, almost like a ghost image, shifted slightly north, south, or at an angle. Some examples show a more dramatic shift, where the doubling is almost impossible to miss even without magnification. And when this RPM error is combined with a double die reverse, where the design elements on the back of the coin, like the eagle, the lettering in quarter dollar, or United States of America, show that same ghostly doubling, you end up with what collectors call a double error coin. And double error coins are exponentially rarer, and exponentially more valuable, than coins with just a single anomaly. Let me tell you how one of these coins came to light, because this story is absolutely wild. There was a woman, let's call her Diane, who inherited a large coffee can full of loose change from her late grandfather's garage. He had been a hardware store owner for over 40 years, and like a lot of people from that generation, he never trusted banks with his spare change. He just tossed coins into a can, year after year, decade after decade. After he passed, Diane found the can while cleaning out the garage, and instead of just rolling the coins and depositing them at the bank like most people would, she decided to sit down one weekend and sort through it, mostly out of sentimental curiosity. Buried among bicentennial quarters, worn-out dimes, and a few wheat pennies, she found a 1982 D quarter that just looked different. The mint mark seemed thick, almost blurry, like it had been stamped twice. Diane didn't know much about coin collecting, but she had seen enough videos online to know that doubling was something collectors got excited about. So she photographed it and posted it in a Facebook coin collecting group, asking, "Is this anything special or am I seeing things?" The replies came flooding in almost immediately. "That is not normal wear. That looks like a legitimate RPM. Please do not clean this coin. Get this to PCGS or NGC immediately." Diane, still skeptical, sent the coin off for professional grading. Weeks later, she received the results, a certified 1982 D repunched mint mark quarter, graded MS66, an exceptionally high grade for a coin of this age and type, indicating remarkable preservation with sharp strike detail and minimal surface marks. When the coin went to auction, bidding was fierce. Collectors who specialized in RPM varieties, along with registry-set competitors chasing top-graded examples for their collections, drove the price up and up. In the end, that single quarter, sitting forgotten in a hardware store owner's coffee can for over 40 years, sold for $22,000. Diane, a woman who almost took that can straight to a coin-counting machine at the grocery store, ended up walking away with a life-changing sum of money, all because she decided to look a little closer. Now let's talk about why the early 1980s are such a hotspot for valuable errors, because this context is crucial for anyone hoping to find their own treasure. During this period, the U.S. Mint was under intense pressure to reduce production costs. Quality control staffing was reduced in some facilities, and the pace of production increased to meet demand. This created what collectors now refer to as a perfect storm for minting errors. Coins that would have been caught and destroyed in earlier or later decades were instead released directly into general circulation. Because so few people were paying attention to modern quarters at the time, everyone was focused on older silver coins from the 1960s and earlier. These 1980s error coins slipped through completely unnoticed for years. Most were spent, used in vending machines, tossed into penny jars, or lost between couch cushions. That means the surviving population of high-grade 1982 D error quarters is remarkably small. And when a coin combines historical scarcity, a well-documented error, and pristine condition, you get a perfect storm for value. Let's talk about grading again, because it's essential to understanding why some coins sell for hundreds while others sell for thousands, or in this case, tens of thousands. When Diane's coin was sent to PCGS, it underwent a rigorous examination process. Graders inspect the coin under high magnification, checking the strike quality, meaning how fully and sharply the design was pressed into the coin, along with luster, meaning the way light reflects off the coin's surface, and any surface marks, scratches, or evidence of cleaning. The coin was assigned a grade of MS66, which sits impressively high on the mint state scale. To put that into perspective, coins graded MS60 through MS63 are considered typical uncirculated examples, often with visible surface marks or a lackluster strike. But once you climb into MS65 and above, you're looking at coins with exceptional eye appeal, sharp details, and minimal imperfections, the kind of coins that registry-set collectors fight over. And speaking of fighting over coins, let's talk about the PCGS Set Registry and NGC Registry, two competitive platforms where collectors publicly showcase their collections and compete for the title of finest known or top pop in a given coin series. For rarer varieties like this RPM quarter, the competition is fierce. Collectors track population reports religiously, watching for any new submissions that might threaten their ranking. When a coin like Diane's 1982D RPM quarter emerges at MS66, especially if it holds a top pop title, meaning no other example has been certified at a higher grade by either PCGS or NGC registry, competitors will pay enormous premiums just to claim that spot on the leaderboard. Some of the most dedicated collectors also seek out coins with a CAC sticker, that green sticker of approval from the Certified Acceptance Corporation, which signals the coin is a strong, plus quality example, sometimes bordering on undergrad. A CAC-approved 1982D RPM quarter would command an even steeper premium in the current market. There's also something called TrueView photography, a service offered by PCGS that captures ultra-high-resolution images of a coin's surface, showing every detail, every reflection of light, every subtle nuance of the strike. These images are often used in online auction listings and registry set displays, allowing collectors around the world to appreciate a coin's beauty without ever holding it in person. Now, let's talk auction trends, because this is where the story gets even more exciting for anyone hoping to find one of these coins themselves. Just 15 years ago, an RPM error on a common date quarter like this might have sold for $50, maybe $100, mostly among niche error coin specialists who understood the significance. But as awareness of coin roll hunting exploded through online communities and video platforms, demand for these overlooked 1980s errors skyrocketed. Heritage auctions and other major numismatic auction houses began seeing bidding wars over coins that, historically, flew completely under the radar. Suddenly, a well-documented, high-grade 1982D RPM quarter wasn't just a curiosity, it was a genuine investment-grade rarity, capable of pulling in bids reaching into the $20,000 range and beyond. So, what should you be looking for if you want to try your luck with this particular date? First, gather up any 1,982 quarters you can find, specifically checking for the D mint mark just to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse. Denver Mint coins from this era are your primary target. Second, use a magnifying loupe to examine that mint mark closely. Look for any doubling, shadowing, or a secondary letter peeking out from behind the primary D. This is the telltale sign of a repunched mint mark. Third, flip the coin over and examine the reverse, the eagle side. Look closely at the lettering in quarter dollar and United States of America. Does anything look doubled, blurred, or ghosted? That could indicate a doubled die reverse, making your coin even more valuable if combined with the RPM error. Fourth, check the overall surface condition. Is the coin free of deep scratches, discoloration, or heavy wear? Coins with sharp, clean surfaces and strong luster are far more likely to grade highly, which directly impacts their value. And once again, I have to stress this, do not attempt to clean the coin. Even a gentle wipe with a cloth can leave microscopic scratches that destroy a coin's surface and tank its value. Collectors can spot cleaning instantly, and a clean coin, even with a legitimate error, can lose the vast majority of its worth. If you believe you've found a promising candidate, your next step is authentication. Reach out to a local coin dealer for an initial opinion, join online numismatic forums or social media groups dedicated to error coins, and if the response is positive, submit your coin to PCGS or NGC for official grading and certification. Now think about this for a moment. Diane's grandfather held onto that coin for over 40 years, completely unaware of what he had. It sat in a coffee can in a garage, exposed to dust, temperature changes, and decades of neglect, and yet it somehow survived in high enough condition to grade MS66. How many other coffee cans, jars, and forgotten collections are sitting in garages and attics across the country right now, holding a coin just like this one? This is exactly why we keep making these videos. Because the difference between spending a life-changing fortune and finding one often comes down to a few extra seconds of attention, the willingness to actually look at what you're holding instead of tossing it aside. And now, if you thought a $22,000 quarter was unbelievable, brace yourself. Because the final coin in today's video, the one we've been building up to this entire time, is considered by many experts to be one of the most jaw-dropping, most shocking Washington quarter discoveries in modern numismatic history. The story behind this coin involves an error so unusual, so unexpected, that even veteran graders at PCGS reportedly had to double-check their findings before confirming it. I'm still not going to tell you the value. Not yet. You're going to have to stick with me just a little longer. But I promise you, everything we've talked about today, the mail carrier, the coffee can, the $22,000, all of that is about to be completely overshadowed by what's coming next. So don't go anywhere. Keep that coin jar close, because after this next reveal, you might just find yourself dumping out every jar, drawer, and forgotten stash in your entire house. Last, the 1977 quarter dollar. This is the moment we've been building toward this entire video. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. Because the final quarter in today's lineup, a coin dated 1977, a coin so common that most people wouldn't even glance at it twice, has sold at auction for an absolutely staggering $39,000. $39,000. For a quarter. Let that number sit with you for a moment, because by the time this video ends, you are going to understand exactly why this coin commands that kind of jaw-dropping price, and why it might just be the most important 60 seconds you spend all week, checking through your own spare change. Let's go back to 1977. This was a strange, transitional period for the United States Mint. The bicentennial quarters of 1976, the ones with the special drummer boy reverse design, had just wrapped up production, and the Mint was shifting back to standard Washington quarter dies for 1977. Transitions like this, historically, tend to introduce inconsistencies. New dies were being prepared, old equipment was being recalibrated, and production schedules were tight as the Mint worked to meet public demand. And in periods of transition like this, mistakes happen. Rare, fascinating, valuable mistakes. For the 1977 quarter, numismatists have documented several extraordinary anomalies, but the specimen that sold for $39,000 carries what's considered one of the rarest combinations in modern quarter collecting, a dramatic off-center strike paired with evidence of a die cap error. Let's slow down and really unpack what that means, because this is genuinely one of the wildest production mistakes a coin can have. An off-center strike happens when the coin blank, called a planchet, isn't properly seated in the coining press when the dies come down to stamp the design. Instead of being perfectly centered, the blank shifts to one side, sometimes only slightly, but in the most dramatic cases, by 20, 30, even 40% or more. This results in a coin where part of the design is crisp and fully struck, while the opposite side shows a smooth, blank crescent of unstruck metal, with the date and design elements pushed dramatically off to one side. Now, a die cap error is even rarer, and honestly, even stranger. This happens when a struck coin gets stuck to one of the dies instead of ejecting properly after being stamped. As the press continues to operate, that stuck coin acts like a cap over the die, and subsequent blanks get struck against it, creating a cascading series of increasingly deformed, doubled, and distorted coins, almost like a bottle cap being hammered onto blank after blank. When a coin survives this process and somehow makes it out of the mint facility, past quality control, and into general circulation, you end up with an error coin so visually dramatic that even non-collectors immediately recognize something is deeply wrong with it, in the best possible way. Let me tell you the story of how this particular coin came to be discovered, because out of everything we've covered today, this story might be the most incredible. There was a young man, let's call him Marcus, who worked at a small independent car wash on the outskirts of town. Every day, customers would toss coins into the tip jar by the register, mostly quarters for the vacuum machines, sometimes just loose change people didn't want cluttering their cup holders. At the end of each month, Marcus and his co-workers would split the tip jar, and being a college student trying to save money, Marcus started a habit of sorting through a share of the coins before spending them, mostly just out of boredom during slow shifts. One evening, sorting through a particularly heavy month's worth of change, Marcus pulled out a quarter that looked like nothing he had ever seen before. The design was wildly off-center. Washington's profile was pushed almost entirely to one side, with a huge blank, smooth crescent taking up nearly a third of the coin. The date, 1977, was still faintly visible, clinging to the edge of the strike. Marcus's first thought wasn't excitement, it was confusion. He genuinely thought someone had damaged the coin on purpose, maybe run it over with a car or messed with it using tools. He almost tossed it aside. But something made him pause. He'd watched a few coin collecting videos before, just out of casual curiosity, and something about this coin's deliberate, mechanical-looking flaw stuck in the back of his mind. So instead of spending it, he took a photo and posted it in an online forum, half expecting people to tell him it was just damaged and worthless. The response was immediate and electric. That is not damage. That's a legitimate mint error. Off-center strike, possibly combined with die cap distortion, this is incredible. Do not, under any circumstances, spend or clean this coin. Marcus, stunned, decided to send the coin to NGC for professional authentication. The wait felt like forever, weeks of nervous anticipation, constantly checking the tracking status online, wondering if maybe he'd gotten his hopes up over nothing. Then the results came back. Authenticated. A genuine 1977 off-center strike error, showing clear evidence of die cap interaction, graded MS64, an excellent grade considering the chaotic nature of how the coin was produced, showing strong remaining luster and minimal post-strike damage. When word got out in specialized error coin collecting circles, interest exploded almost overnight. This wasn't just a double die or a repunched mint mark, this was a dramatic, visually stunning production anomaly, the kind of coin that photographs beautifully, tells an incredible story, and represents one of the rarest possible outcomes of the minting process. The coin went to auction through heritage auctions, and the bidding war that followed was intense. Error coin specialists, registry set collectors, and even collectors who don't normally focus on modern quarters were captivated by the sheer visual drama of this piece. When the final hammer fell, Marcus's tip jar quarter, a coin he almost dismissed as damaged and worthless, sold for $39,000. A car wash employee, sorting through spare change during a slow shift, walked away with a life-altering sum of money because he trusted his gut instinct and refused to write off something that just looked different. Now let's talk about why off-center strikes and die cap errors command such extraordinary premiums, because understanding this helps explain why this coin topped our list today. Double dies and repunched mint marks, while rare and valuable, are subtle errors. You often need a magnifying loupe just to notice them. But off-center strikes and die cap errors are dramatic, immediately visible anomalies that require zero expertise to appreciate. Anyone, collector or not, can look at a coin like Marcus's quarter and instantly understand that something extraordinary happened during production. This visual drama makes these errors incredibly desirable not just among traditional numismatists, but among a broader collecting audience, including art collectors, novelty collectors, and investors looking for unique, conversation piece assets. That broader demand pool drives prices dramatically higher than more subtle errors might command. Additionally, off-center strikes above 50%, or those combined with secondary errors like die cap distortion, are exponentially rarer than simpler single-error coins. Quality control at the mint is specifically designed to catch and destroy severely malformed coins before they ever leave the facility. For a coin this dramatically flawed to somehow slip past inspection, get bagged, shipped, and eventually handed out as change at a small business car wash, represents an almost unbelievable chain of coincidences. Let's talk grading once more, because the process for authenticating dramatic errors like this is even more rigorous than standard double die or RPM submissions. When NGC received Marcus's coin, graders had to carefully examine the strike characteristics to confirm the error was a genuine mint mistake, and not post-mint damage caused by someone deliberately altering the coin outside the facility using tools, machinery, or other means to fake an error coin. This distinction is critical, because artificially damaged coins are worth essentially nothing, while genuine mint errors are worth a fortune. Graders look for specific telltale signs of authenticity: the way the metal flows during a genuine strike, the characteristic Blakesley effect often seen on off-center strikes near the rim, and the specific deformation patterns caused by die-cap interaction, which are nearly impossible to replicate outside of an actual coining press. Once authenticated, the coin was assigned a numerical grade on the mint state scale, in this case MS64, reflecting strong original luster and well-preserved surfaces despite the chaotic nature of its production. The coin was then encapsulated in a tamper-proof NGC holder, permanently certifying both its grade and its error designation. Population reports for dramatic off-center and die-cap errors on 1977 quarters are almost non-existent. We're talking about single-digit certified examples across both major grading services combined. This makes Marcus's coin a true top pop specimen, an undisputed crown jewel for any registry set collector building a modern error quarter collection. And speaking of registry sets, collectors competing in the PCGS set registry and NGC registry programs for modern error coins consider pieces like this absolute holy grails. Because unlike standard date and mint mark sets, error coin registry sets reward rarity and drama above all else, and a coin this visually striking, this well documented, and this scarcely populated becomes an instant centerpiece for any serious collection. Some collectors in this space also pursue coins with a CAC sticker for additional validation, though dramatic mint errors like off-center strikes are sometimes evaluated slightly differently than standard date coins, given their unique and often one-of-a-kind visual characteristics. Regardless, the combination of NGC certification, exceptional rarity, and a compelling discovery story pushed this coin's value into the extraordinary five-figure range. Let's talk about the broader auction landscape for coins like this, because the numbers tell a fascinating story of shifting collector priorities. 10 or 15 years ago, error coins were often considered a niche corner of numismatics, appreciated mainly by dedicated specialists who understood the mechanics of minting mistakes. But as coin roll hunting content and error coin education spread rapidly online, mainstream interest in these dramatic anomalies has exploded. Heritage auctions and other major houses have reported significant increases in bidding activity for well-documented, visually striking error coins, with prices for exceptional examples like Marcus's 1977 off-center strike climbing into territory that would have seemed almost unbelievable just a decade ago. $39,000 for a modern quarter error is no longer a fluke, it's part of a broader trend of dramatic errors commanding serious money at auction. So, if you want to try your luck hunting for a coin like this yourself, here's exactly what you should be looking for. First, pay close attention to any coin, not just quarters, that looks visibly off-center, misshapen, or unusually struck. Don't automatically assume it's damaged. Genuine mint errors often look strange, dramatic, and immediately different from a normal coin. Second, examine the edges and rim of the coin. On genuine off-center strikes, you'll often see a distinctive crescent of smooth, blank, unstruck metal on one side, with the design elements compressed or pushed toward the opposite edge. Near where the strike begins, look for what's called the Blakesley effect, a weakness or crumbling appearance along the rim, which is a strong indicator of authenticity. Third, if the coin shows unusual doubling, distortion, or a strange layered appearance, it could indicate die-cap interaction, one of the rarest and most valuable error types in modern coinage. Fourth, resist the urge to fix or clean an unusual-looking coin. Many people, upon finding a strange coin, mistakenly assume it's damaged and either discard it or attempt to clean it, not realizing they might be holding a life-changing treasure. Never clean an error coin, and never attempt to reshape or alter it in any way. If you find a coin that looks unusual, dramatically off-center, or strangely distorted, do not spend it. Set it aside, photograph it clearly from multiple angles, and consult with a local coin dealer or trusted online numismatic community for an initial opinion. If the response is promising, submit it to PCGS or NGC for official authentication and grading. Now, take a moment to really think about everything we've covered today. A retired mail carrier, sorting quarters at his kitchen table, found a coin worth $19,000. A woman cleaning out her late grandfather's garage found a coin worth $22,000 sitting quietly in an old coffee can. And a car wash employee, sorting through a tip jar during a slow shift, found a coin worth $39,000, a coin he almost dismissed as damaged trash. None of these people were wealthy. None of them were professional numismatists. None of them had special connections or insider knowledge. They were ordinary people who simply took a few extra seconds to look closely at something everyone else overlooks every single day. That coin jar sitting on your counter right now? That drawer full of loose change you've been meaning to roll up and take to the bank? That old container tucked away in your garage or attic, inherited from a parent or grandparent who never trusted banks with their spare change? Any one of them could be hiding the next $39,000 discovery. We started this video talking about a coin worth $19,000. We moved on to one worth $22,000. And we just finished uncovering a coin that sold for an incredible $39,000, all three of them quarters, all three of them coins that most people would spend without a second thought, all three of them proof that fortune doesn't always come from luck, or wealth, or connections. Sometimes, fortune comes from simply paying attention. So before you roll up your spare change and cart it off to the bank, before you dump that old coffee can of coins into a counting machine, before you hand off a roll of quarters without a second glance, stop. Look closer. Check the dates. Check the mint marks. Check for doubling, for strange shifts, for anything that looks just a little bit off. Because somewhere out there, right now, someone is holding a coin worth thousands of dollars, completely unaware of what's sitting in the palm of their hand. Don't let that someone be a missed opportunity for you. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If this video opened your eyes to the hidden fortune sitting in your everyday change, make sure you're subscribed to Hidden Coin Value, because we uncover stories just like these every single week. Real coins, real discoveries, real life-changing values, hiding in the most ordinary places imaginable. Until next time, keep checking your change. You never know what you might be holding.